Jeff, how's it going, man?
Hi, Danny.
Cool. Let me see. So many clicks to get into this meeting now. So acknowledge recording and this and that. Like,
Right.
it was funny. Let's see here. Cool. Let's give it
I
a
really
minute.
wish
Uh,
the recording stuff was in control of the people in the meeting, not just automatic. Because, like, boy, would really like to, trim off the first X minutes of people of
Oh,
us sitting here waiting.
social time. Exactly. Yeah. I don't know if it's just like the way, I guess it's the way they set it up, huh?
It's just the way it's got set up. Yeah. I mean, it's understanding. Otherwise, but anyway.
People forget too. That's the other thing. Cool.
We need to put an Easter egg in these recordings and say, hey, if anyone's actually listened to this, send me an email and I'll send you, send you
Exactly.
guys, right?
An Amazon gift card or something, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Then 7 years from now, somebody will actually.
That'd be funny.
I
Yeah.
won one of those once. It was decades ago, but somebody putting a little internal company newsletter on some topic, and I happened upon it, and like, hey, first person that sees this, come to my office and get a token of our.
Uh-huh.
And it was a giveaway, but like, I had a nice plastic compact themed multicolored slinky for.
That's pretty
They were
cool.
shocked, like no one has ever read that.
There used to be factory managers that would so like in some of the test and clean rooms, like there's like those, I don't know if you ever walked into one of those ones where it's like you walk in and the doormat is sticky tape.
Yes,
So, grabs the first bunch of junk from your shoes to try to cut
right.
down on it. And then of course every once in a while you got to peel one of those away, right? And I guess they would like put $100 bill like on like the last one or something, one of the last ones, so that whoever like was
Right.
paying attention and saying, "Oh, it's time to rip it off," and then
Yes.
they like saw $100 bill that they could have, like I was like, "That's pretty good."
Yep.
Yeah,
You get what you measure, right?
yeah, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Good ways, little ways to incentivize behavior certainly works, right? All these
Yeah,
apps.
of course, then you get the laws of unintended consequences, right? That's the
Yeah, then people start just ripping them away all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you're like your cost for your stickies go up or something funny, right? Like, yeah,
Yeah,
you
the
always,
worst the worst one of those I've heard was one of these environmental was invasive species, and I can't remember exactly if it was cane toads or some other or sort of rodent or something, but
Mhm.
the government put out basically a bounty that was like, if you'll go hunt the things,
Right,
bring us the carcasses, and you get an equivalent of $1 or something, right, for every one you
right.
bring us, as an incentive to get people to go out and try to kill off the invasive species. Well,
Yeah.
the entrepreneurs figured out that it was actually easy to breed them,
Oh gosh.
and it cost significantly less to you didn't have to do much, or you could get free feed, so it
Yeah.
was almost no cost to just breed them, and so they would
Costs
they would
30
literally,
cents to
yeah,
breed them.
breed a bunch of them, and then bring those all into the government to get the bounties for them. And
Oh
of course, then
gosh.
what happened? I think then the government figured this out and like, okay, this is a bad idea, so they stopped the program. And then of course, all these breeders then just released all those.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Funny. Crazy. All right. Looks like we had one other join on the
Somebody's
phone.
coming in on the
Hello,
phone.
folks.
Hey, sure thing.
Sorry, that's
Or should
me.
he?
Oh, maybe I reflect as iPhone. Sorry.
That's
It's just
okay.
reflect as I. That's okay. You can. We know who you
Yep.
are. Cool. Well, what we had for today is Jeff and I just did a quick sync last week because I know a few people were able to make it, but and we're all I'm still pretty busy, but we figured since we were discussing kind of a couple weeks ago, the whole idea of like part of the meat of the spec is going to be like, here's the redfish OOB telemetry fields, which ones are recommended versus required, and then also writing in if there's any kind of, and I don't know if this is possible, but like the accuracy and other details. And I think Jeff said you kind of got this tool that you can use to actually automatically export to documentation type sources. Or
Right. Yep.
cool.
Let
Okay.
me,
Yeah.
let me bring up one other window, and I'll
Cool.
get the stuff on the screen.
That'll work.
Okay. Just want to have this ready so I can. Okay. All right, let me clear off the whole window, whole monitor here because it'll be just easy to show the whole screen rather than trying to flop between a bunch of windows.
Mhm.
Okay, and as I do my normal, the Ouija board, can anyone see this?
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Somebody had the great insight that like modern modern meetings have turned into seances because we spend a lot of time like, is anyone there? Can you hear me? Can you hear
Right.
this?
Verizon commercials, right? Can you hear me?
Right, right. Okay, so all right, so let's start with the profile. And so I was talking with Dave this morning, so I kind of just threw something together here, and
Okay.
I've modified one of my existing things that I've been working on. So don't take any of this as written in stone. I just kind of threw some things together here for us to discuss.
Okay.
And there's a bunch of crap that won't make any sense. So, or, from our thing. Don't worry about the content so much as it is as looking at the structure. Uh, so this is what the profile document looks like. It's a JSON document, so it's machine readable and also pretty human readable, especially since the profile structure has been defined to be pretty human readable in terms of all the property names.
Mhm.
Uh, so hopefully we can. So I want to kind of walk through this, and you can see how this works. I have a presentation for this, but I'm not going to pull that up. So there's a bunch of stuff here at the top that's kind of just your identification things. Here's the name of the profile and what version and so forth, contact information. Um, the this will actually be correct now, so I can do that. One of the features of the profile structure is that you can include other profiles, and so you don't have to start from scratch. You can say, "Well, I'm going to build on someone else's thing, so I'm just going to add more requirements." And we may not actually do this because we're not going to care about that. Actually, I'm going to remove that. Because we have these baselines of like what makes a managed product viable,
Uh-huh.
have those concepts. But from a sustainability standpoint, I don't care. And that's the thing we should not be overloading and duplicating a lot of effort. So I want to make us be very focused on just the data that's necessary for sustainability and not
Yeah.
making a viable product, right?
Right. Right. Exactly. And we
So,
can just get one of those for that. Go to the other specs.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So I want us to be something that gets included in other people's profiles. So, they will deal with are you building a viable product? So I don't even care if, like, do you have the ability to log in? No, that's somebody else's problem. So,
Right.
that it won't function, but from our perspective, hey, as long as you have the sustainability data, I don't care if you don't support eventing or any of the anything else useful, right?
Yep.
So we'll restrict it to that. So the
Okay.
bulk of and there's some protocol stuff that would be the only thing I would put on here is that we would want a Redfish version 1.6, which is now really ancient history. But that's what gets us a fixed URI pattern, and so we'll want to have that for some of our requirements and usefulness. But that's a really really low bar. So that's the only thing I would put there. And so the bulk of the profile then gets under the heading here of resources. So these are the JSON payloads that show up in the Redfish interface
Yep.
that are defined by a particular schema. And so these are then the items under the resource category are then these are the schema names. So we have a schema called environment metrics, one called power equipment, power distribution. Like I said, I just copied this from some existing stuff, so this may not make sense for what we're doing, but I try to at least get it to be relevant. And so that's the list. So we have a list of resources. And then as we talked, we'll want to make our use cases as to like, okay, this is the data that we want to have. And then so this is where those things show up. So and so under each resource or schema, there are then property requirements. And so this becomes the list of properties that you require.
Okay.
And this is where we kind of get into the bulk of the actual work to do. So the first thing you'll see is that I've got a couple here. I just wrote this a couple minutes ago. So environment metrics, like, yep, we want you to report power and we want you to report energy, and that's really it.
Yep.
Uh, now, uh, so the shorthand of the profile document, you see that this is basically just defining this property as an empty object. And so what this means in profile lingo is I don't need to give you a lot of details. This is just a mandatory requirement. Period.
Yep. Yep.
So so that's because we did that because that's a pretty good default. If you're writing a profile, you probably have a lot of stuff that you have is mandatory. And so that's how you do it. You don't have to go give all the details. And so that's the quick shorthand. So now what you'll see down here, let me get to one of these
Hey,
other.
sorry, Jeff, quick
Go ahead.
clarification. Is what is listed under the resources, under the, property requirements in resources, that is essentially, uh, like the report is going to say that these are the two items that will be provided for every device. Is that why it is listed over there?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
and
Okay.
there's
I
yeah,
think
there's a little bit of complexity we'll have to get into here because environment metrics shows up in a lot of places in the model. So we'll be fleshing this out some more to give those requirements because I think what we'll see is uh, we will want you to have the power and energy at the chassis level, right, which is kind of your total device power.
Hmm.
And then we'll have some additional things like, hey, if you have a processor, it would be nice for you to break out the processor, the environment, the power for that processor. So there'll be this is a very simplistic example at the moment, but yeah, we're going to be building that out more.
Okay. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm wondering. Actually, your example makes it more concrete. Like if I'm talking about a node, then these are still the two parameters that will be sort of described. And if I'm talking about a processor, that is still the two parameters to be described. If I'm talking about a chassis, that is still the two parameters to be described.
Correct.
Okay.
So
Okay.
let me pull that up. So here, so this is the Redfish resource schema guide. So this is the environment metrics definition, and you can see that there are a lot of places where that environment metric shows up in the model. Everything from the chassis to individual memory devices, network adapters, and some of this is going to get cut out. Uh, drive and storage and so on and so forth. So we'll want to list some of these things out as separate requirements. But regardless of where it shows up in the model, these are the properties that show up in that environment metrics. And so the ones we care about are energy, energy in kilowatt hours,
Mm-hmm.
and power in watts. And I guess I need to put some additional pieces there, but because I didn't get into the details, but it's basically we care about the reading. There's some additional things here that we don't care about, so
Okay, so that's
I'll probably want to make that I'll probably do this. So power and watts is actually it's an object, so it has its own property requirements, and
uh,
this we would say reading, and that's what we would do, and we'll do this. We would do the same thing for energy.
okay. Meaning it's something that's read by the Redfish protocol. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, again, because the way these show up here, this is a JSON object, and
Yep.
so if I just put that as a simple requirement,
Uh-huh.
the interpretation would be that I require all of the items
Uh,
within that object, which is not what we care about.
I see what you're saying. That's the way it
So
would.
all we care about is the reading.
Okay, got it.
Right. So I'll do that. But you can see now I've just made reading. I've just made that a mandatory requirement because I didn't put anything in there.
Got it. Okay.
So to show you an example of that, let's see, is that, I'm trying to see if there's one in here that's I started deleting a bunch of stuff, and some of this may have been helpful to see an example. uh, uh, well, just to kind of get started, you can see what I did here. So here's a case where I actually want to give some details like and again this we won't need this, but hey, if there's a there's an asset tag, and I'm saying here that I'm actually expanding upon that to say that the read requirement is mandatory, which means basically I've got to have that property there. And there's also a write requirement, and we're saying that's mandatory, which for asset tag makes sense. It's like, well, if I can't set the asset tag as a user, it's not particularly useful. And so that's why those are both mandatory. Now, the other values for these requirements are things like recommended, and you'll see some others here like if implemented. So here's a link that says managed by. Like, well, it would be good for me to know, who is what's the Redfish manager for this power distribution unit. So, but my software isn't going to fail if I don't have that. So I'm
Yeah.
going to mark that only as recommended.
Okay.
And so when it comes to the testing, if you don't have that property, you're not going to get flagged for failing the profile.
Okay.
Whereas if you don't have a mandatory property, you absolutely do.
Okay. And managed by is that like is this like a what resources manager or like actual person kind of contact info kind of thing?
This is a resource.
This is a resource.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is actually, yeah, so we're looking at the profile, not the schema. So yeah, you don't get any of the definitional things here, but I mean this is a link, so that's
Okay.
it's defined. I'm pointing to another Redfish resource. So this
A
is
redfish
this is
resource.
pointing this is pointing to a manager resource to say that this power distribution device, a PDU, is
Uh,
being managed by some manager device.
okay.
And the reason this is recommended here, just from where I copied this, is that well, for most of the time there's only one manager, so it's usually obvious, and so I don't really need to add all this extra cruft for all these obvious links. So we don't like to make people do a bunch of software that's like I can just assume that, or if it's just not there, then I can just assume that there's only one of them. Um so getting into, let's see, is that a good example? Well, that's the best example I've got. Uh, so actually, you know what? I'm gonna do that up here. So, so one of the other things I can do is I can specify that not only the requirements for the properties, but I can require where this needs to show up in the model. So like environment metrics can, as I showed you, there's several dozen locations that it could be. The one that we care about the most is going to be is that for every chassis, and I say every, we may want to change that. That's where we want to make sure that you have one. And so there may be some optional places like under the processor and so forth that we'll list out here. But this is another way for us to kind of make some requirements. So you got to have an environment metrics for the chassis, because that's how I'm going to get your chassis level power and energy readings.
Cool. Okay.
Okay, so and I don't want to get into a whole lesson on profile construction today.
Yeah.
I'm looking for one of these conditionals that I can just show that. Okay, here we go. Let me see if I got one that will make sense
Hmm.
for mere mortals. uh, well, it'll work here for this. Oh, here, lifetime reading. This we goes. Okay, uh, so this is a sensor property called lifetime reading, which we may want to have for energy. So energy consumption. And I think I'm still right here. Energy. Yeah. Okay. So in the energy. I have a reading. So that's the reading, that's the counter of energy.
Yep.
Um, that counter can be reset by the user. That's a typical feature of these things is that you can
Yep.
reset that counter. So because if you wanted to, see how much energy you use, since you reconfigured something, then you want to reset that. But you keep the lifetime value so that the entire over the lifespan of this product you have that energy reading. So that's a separate reading that can be kept. That's something we may want to place to say that, like, yeah, that's a nice to have thing. Um, and so in this case, uh, this is actually showing requirements for the sensor itself, not the environment metrics. But I could go move this up here to make that a little more appropriate. Uh, but the read requirement here is marked as conditional. And so what that means is that I'm going to specify some conditional requirements to say, under what conditions does this thing become mandatory? Or yeah, so we give you a purpose here, so you can explain why you're doing this, and then an array of conditional requirements. And so what this is saying is, I want you to compare to look at the property called reading type. Uh, and if that reading type, which is for a sensor, is effectively what units, what is this sensor measuring? That could be power, energy, volts, amps, frequency, temperature, humidity. Uh, and so what this is saying is that, okay, if the value of the reading type property is energy in kilowatt hours, and that's an equal to, uh, then this becomes a mandatory property. So,
Okay.
so th this is where all the flexibility comes in, and you can go way overboard with this stuff. So we're gonna try to keep it simple. Since some of this stuff got written, we had some other ways to maybe make this a little bit easier as well. But there's a lot of flexibility here, and with much flexibility comes complexity. So
Yeah.
we'll want to try to minimize these things, but we do have those capabilities.
Cool. Okay.
Okay, so all right. So that said, there are so this is what we would eventually publish. We publish two things. Number one is we have this profile document, and so I come over here to, yeah. So this is the OCP's hardware management profiles repository on GitHub, and there are folders here for each of the various project or sub projects, the server, storage, rack and power, to for us to go place the profiles that are related to those other projects. Uh, and so if I go into server, you'll see there's a hardware management, server hardware management. There's like three versions here, and then the most recent one, um, which this has been a while. So we're actually going through this right now to try to get that updated for today's requirements. Uh, so the expectation is we would go create our own folder. We'd add our profile there, and then along with that would come a usage document, which would describe, what this profile is and why, and what it's used for. So and that document is what is used to explain those requirements to other folks. So two things come out of this: is that document is for the humans. The profile, the sorry, that that PDF is usage guide is for the humans. This JSON file, this machine readable profile, is what can be fed to the interop validator that will go test a product against all these requirements and see if it passes. Uh,
Oh, okay.
okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's true. And we want to mention all that in the spec too, right?
Right.
Use tool, blah, blah, blah. This is part of the, yeah. Okay.
Right.
Compile.
So where these things where they intersect is that and that interop validator is part of the DMTF's tool set of available stuff. If I go to
While you're bringing that up, just very quickly, I will have to drop midway. The profile is looking very good, but I'll let you folks carry on.
Okay,
Okay.
great.
Yeah, I will have to drop for a conflict midway, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so there's the interop validator tool, and basically, so it will consume, and the way that you use this, see, where's the example? It doesn't have, but basically, it's just a command line of point me to the profile doc, and point me to give me the IP address and login information for that device, and then it will go run that and spits out a report and I don't have one of those handy. Is there an example? I don't think there's an example output. But it basically runs through and then tells you what you got and what you didn't.
Okay.
So
Cool.
so the intersection of these things is that we also have a tool called the uh, let's see, it's in Redfish tools. So this other open source tool called the Redfish documentation generator, uh, it will also consume that profile document and then merge it with the schema files and produce a human readable requirements doc that spits out effectively the merging of those two things.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I would recommend is that, and this is what I'm doing for my other profile work at OCP, is I'm taking this output and using it as effectively the second half of a use guide, which becomes just the reference material. And I'll show you what that output looks like. So we go construct the documentation, all that usage guide, and then effectively you can call it Appendix A if you want, but I would just call it the reference section. Is then okay. Well, then going down resource by resource, here are the requirements, and and this is what you'll need.
Got it. Okay.
So let me show you how that works. Okay, so and so what I built up here, there it goes. So I built up some examples here. So I made a sustainability folder within that hardware within that the OCP profiles repository. And
Cool.
so this is so there's
Yeah.
the and then sorry, all the filings look the same.
All good.
So yeah, so okay, so there's the sustainability profile. So there's the profile document that I've got on the screen here, and we've changed it, so I'll rerun the tool. So the documentation generator has can use three things. It needs that profile document, and then it can incorporate an introduction and a postscript. So it takes so if I pull this up, uh, yeah, again, I kind of made some snippets here, and this is in HTML format, so and I'm mixing some things up here, but this is in Markdown. But what this does is like, okay, this is all my front material. So and this is the one I'm working on for PDUs, so that you'll see a lot of text here. Um, but so this is okay, here's my use case document. So I started reformatting this to be for sustainability. Our use cases for sustainability is we need you to have some basic device inventory. We need you to have device level power and energy reporting and location data. I think that was kind of it. Like I said, and ignore all these examples and stuff. That's kind of where where I stopped. But you'll get the gist of it. I want to leave some output here. And then basically this section is kind of the heading for the okay. Well, here's the reference guide, and so it's kind of just setting up kind of boilerplate for, this is what these reference sections will look like, and then you see the document ends.
Okay.
Um, and then the postscript is basically is your appendix. So I generally leave the things like, hey, this document was generated by the documentation generator utility, but you can find it there. And then here's the change log.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So there's the meat of my docs. And so then what I need is a config file. And this is what is fed to the documentation generator to assemble all this stuff. So won't go through all this because some of this is almost boilerplate. But it's basically telling me, I want this at this point. I'm just making an HTML format so we can look at it here. We'll run this through the publication process. So this actually be a markdown document that would then go through the OCP publication tools. Uh, so it's just, what filing am I using? Where do I find my payload, my mockup examples, which I've got, is in another folder. And so, all right, well, here's my profile. There's the OCP sustainability profile. I want this in terse mode, which for the tool means just show the stuff that's mentioned in the profile and don't show anything that's not. And so, that if you make that a non-terse, then you get effectively the whole schema guide, and that's not what we're going to be looking for. And then here's my my boilerplate, the intro section of the postscript. So there's the two documents that get merged, and then there's some other options and things about table of contents, which actually let's put a table of contents just for giggles. And then some other option stuff. So just assume this is all good. And so, all right, so now we've got everything we need. We've got the profile. We've got our two pieces of documentation to merge in, and the configuration. And so we'll just run. And I made a little batch file. Oh, what did I do? Oh, I screwed up some line 25. What happened? Now see what I did. I did worked. Expecting property name and close to line 25. OCP profile. Oh, okay. I screwed something up in our profile. All right. Well, this is how you do this stuff. Get that. Here's the JSON file. I did something. So I'm gonna do this the easy way, and I'm gonna go to the JSON lint. The easiest way to find. Paste the whole thing into the JSON validator. Up there it is. Okay. So I've got an errant. Got an errant thing that was on line 24. Yep. Okay, that's right. So that makes sense. Yep. That's no comma there. And so if I do the same thing here, then this will hopefully revalidate. Oh, I got another one. 66. Same thing. Yep. It's funny. I don't remember making that edit, but okay. Any more? And a file. Okay, so at the very bottom, I got something else too here. It's got an extra, really? Expecting you, I've got a, well, here, if I just take that off, you're going to be happy?
Of
No.
course.
Yeah, worse, better. What did I get rid of? Oh, line 60. Oh, okay, it's up there now. Yeah, you get off on your parentheses and it throws off the structure, right? So, oh, now it's gonna bark about the in the file. Yeah, because I needed that. Really? Okay. All right, it's happy. So I'm going to copy this now and place it back. Save that. All right, now we have a valid file.
Yeah.
Now I'll run it. There we go.
Wow, cool.
So I just made a batch file because it's basically just it's calling that doc generator as a Python program, points to that configuration file, which basically contains everything else you need. And then that spins for 30 seconds or so. There we go. Okay, so now we have a completed doc. Yep, that was just created. So open with hello, open. There. So there we go. Yeah, I add a table of contents now. Uh,
Wow.
so you can see this was the front material that I had in there about basic device inventory and device power level. You can see you can include you can include JSON snippets to make examples.
Yeah.
So there's all that front material, and then there's the how to use this guide, and then it drops right into the rest of this, which is now automatically generated for us. So here's that environment metrics, and you can see we made energy and power, and we made this as
Uh-huh.
a mandatory read-only properties.
Yep.
And an example responses get spit out, so you can do that. And then same thing here. So you can see this. There's whole categories here. Where was where was those optional pieces? Did that? Oh, I think I've screwed up. Okay, yep, I screwed something up in the profile because I've it's not catching all the rest of those resources. So I've now misplaced. Uh, what did it do? Yeah, I put one too many closes. It's going to be up here. There it is. There, power distribution. It's right there. So see just a little bit of live editing. What don't you like? Oh, because now it needs that one at the bottom that I should have. Why did I should have known that wasn't edited. That was.
Yeah.
Oh, there's still something going wrong here. What's going on here? Power, property requirements, close. That should be there, right? Hmm. Well, okay. I've misplaced a comma here somewhere, so it's missing it. But anyway, we get the point. Um, but so I don't have a lot of other examples there because I messed this up.
Oh, good.
But anyway, and so yeah, and then the end of this, then there's that PostScript stuff that was generated.
Redfish document. Very cool. Okay. And then, so I'm trying to think. So this dumps to HTML, like,
It can dump both. It will dump an HTML or it'll dump it into Markdown, and Markdown is what will go through the OCP publication process.
okay.
And then that will then create a PDF.
Awesome. Okay, cool. That was the next question. Okay. Sweet. I mean, you're pretty close. Do you want to take a stab at like kind of the fields we talked about before? Let me see if I,
Yeah.
let me see. I think you probably know by the back of your hand. I'm trying. I mean, we pretty much did. Let me see if I sent those out. I get horrible about sending out minutes, but I have them right here somewhere. Let's see. When did we talk about that? A couple of times ago.
Yeah.
I can resend it to you. I guess it was a little while ago. Or I can even just dump it here on the mandatory field to the redfish profile. Let me see. I thought we talked about it a little bit more detail. I mean, and hopefully I captured, or maybe I think I put it in the Word doc. Let me go look at the Word doc real quick before I start sharing. So I'm kind of jumping around everywhere. Here's this, which, yeah, also, let me see. And then what I can start doing too is figure out how to get see if OCP has a markdown template, because I guess that's the next thing to check too, right? I don't know if,
Well, we shouldn't need it because they're what they will do is that we give them effectively um, the 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 guts.
uh-huh.
So we basically give them this, so you can see like, well, there's not a lot of formatting, there's no logos and stuff, but this stuff will come off too. So it will
Oh,
be
okay.
like we'll just kind of give what we send them as output is basically like table of contents and start your document, and then the template comes from their publication tool, so they'll take that markdown and then plop it into a template.
Right, but just saying like, because we have this Word version of the spec thing here.
Yeah.
Like, so I was thinking either we take what you're outputting and put into Word, and then that creates a PDF, or if we need to, have or there's some markdown template that then this like, that has the.
Oh yeah, I would want us to take where to go. Yeah, I would want us to take the let's see, what is this? This is the markdown. I'm trying to looking for the yeah, well, there's the profile on it. I would want us to take our spec out of Word and just convert it to Markdown, which is really just text.
Okay, so pretty
With
much just copy paste it into kind of some
yeah,
markdown or
yeah,
something. That's probably what I'll try to do. Okay, yeah, I'm trying to do that for a few other projects, so that'll be good practice for me. I'll see if I can
yeah.
find a way to do it decoupled from all my other Intel stuff.
Right.
That one
Um,
is so like the setup for that is so intricate. I'm like, oh my gosh, but like to just do a regular markdown, I might be able to do it. That's what I got to learn, but that'll be good practice. Okay.
yeah, and Markdown's not difficult until you start getting into complicated tables, and we've certainly got lots of
Yeah.
examples to show you that. But
As that for, I mean, it's like old school tech, the tech
yes.
today, and I just it's all like the hard part is like the setup. Like once I get the little engine running, like
Well,
this.
so the good news is that if you is that GitHub is let me go back to GitHub. Um, there's OpenSea. So GitHub has got and by the way, GitHub is their own. They have what's called GitHub flavored Markdown,
Okay.
which is so absolutely use that if when you look up anything about Markdown, make sure that you're using GitHub flavored Markdown. Uh,
GitHub Markdown. And then what do you use as like, do you use GitHub as kind of like the IDE or the environment, the editor environment, or
you can. I mean, Markdown is so
you just
so
use any
transparent.
text editor like
Yeah, I just use
Notepad? Oh
Notepad
yeah,
and
Notepad plus plus. Yeah.
right, and yeah, Notepad is aware of Markdown, so you can see it's got the colorings here for for things like links and headings and subheadings and so forth. So once you know some of the basics of Markdown, the rest of it is pretty simple. But what will happen is that GitHub, the GitHub web GUI is aware of Markdown, and so like this README here, this file, like if I go open this file individually,
Uh-huh.
this is like the raw version, right? So there's what it looks like in the editor, but by default it understands Markdown, so ta-da, it just renders it.
Yeah.
So when we're looking at these documents, in GitHub, see if is there a markdown in any of these? I don't think there is. We don't have the usage guides in the rest of these. Uh, let's see. Oh, we got a pull request. I can go here. PowerShell Manager. There we go. So if I go here in his files, uh, there, PowerShell Management Spec. So let me just view the file. Right. So there is this usage guide that Mike has done for a PowerShell. So you can see he's included figures and there's some tables.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, you can actually look at this Markdown source because he also got a table and stuff. So like, yeah, if you want to see how to do all this in Markdown, go look at this and look at the raw raw file, which I'll just pull up here. So you can see there's,
Yeah, how do I get to that again?
this was in the profiles under it's not it's in a it's under a pull request because it
Okay.
hasn't been approved, but it's this PowerShelf management proposal.
Okay. We'll see if I can get that thing working. I think I'm actually convinced something's up with the way OCP set up Git and Intel proxies because
Yeah, did you? Yeah, I think did you talk to John Leong?
I did, and he's like, I can't get it to work either. He's like, but, and I was like, oh, this is obviously like Intel IT just way too locked down. He's like, yeah, but like I can push to Redfish on GitHub, like, or not
Oh,
Redfish,
yeah.
Red. He's like,
Uh-huh.
I can push to Red Hat, but I can't push to OCP. So he's like, I think it's something in OCP side, and he was gonna circle
Okay.
back with Kevin again. I don't know if he got anywhere, but
Okay. Well, worst case,
just like, the other thing is to work on my own PC. He's like, I literally just put it on my own PC, and then
right.
and I'm
Uh,
like, oh gosh, I'm like, okay, maybe I will, but
let's see, can you pull down a zip of the branch? Uh, oh no, it's in his home, right? So, I don't know. I was trying to see if there's a way for you to pull this down, but I mean, you can certainly look at it here on the web GUI.
oh, okay.
Right? So it's under his pull request, and then it's that PowerShelf management spec.
Um, okay, and that's just under like the main spec pages for OCP and everything. Like I'll find pointers to that stuff.
Here, let me give you the
Oh, there you go, github.com. That'd be cool. Yeah, cool.
there, put it in chat.
Okay, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Uh,
But
yeah,
Mike's usage guide, you can see uh that. So if I look at the raw markdown, there's your headings, are done with pound signs, and then there's the table. So you can see it's not a difficult formatting to do. You got a little bit of extra goodies here with the justifications and stuff, but getting a table is easy. Incorporating figures are just HTML links, uh, and the rest of this is pretty straightforward.
yeah,
But yeah,
cool.
you can see the raw here doesn't show any of this stuff. But yeah, but you do that in Notepad, Notepad and you'll get the context coloring and whatnot, and that makes it a lot easier.
Good deal. Okay, let's do that. If you want to kind of just take a step, I think you have a pretty much a good feel, and then maybe we could just kind of like look at the final product and kind of like
Yep.
kind of discuss them and kind of ratify as a group kind of thing, and then we can
Yeah,
go from
because I think what we do is at least get a framework started. Like I said, I'll cut all this out as I didn't cut out everything just so we could have some materials to see to run through the generator. But I'll cut out everything and then kind of even if it's just a skeleton, but then we can talk about it and at least say, hey, okay, this is a good starting point, and then I can go put a branch up on the profiles so that we can then go have that discussion, in GitHub.
okay, cool.
And I suppose we could do that we could do that in the sustainability. But do we care? I mean, this is it's going to need to go to the
Yeah, I
OCP
don't. No,
profile eventually.
I don't think it matters. No, wherever's
Yeah,
easiest to put it. It's just the landing place for it anyway to work.
exactly.
Very cool. Okay, yeah, I'm good with that.
All right, all right. Well, I will continue down that path, and I said I won't. I mean, I won't get it all fleshed out, but I'll get something, some basics, and we can kind of review that next time.
That'd be awesome. Okay, thanks, Jeff. All right.
All
Well,
right,
have a
all
good
right.
rest of the weekend, man.
Yep. Thank you much. You too.
Okay. See you.
Yeah.
Goodbye.